Guilticent. I mean, Innaguilty. Can I have my phone call?
Gravity Falls was a series that constantly exceeded expectations by engaging the fan base with relatable characters and a highly compelling mystery, pulling them in multiple directions. It was like an animated Twin Peaks meets The X-Files, but with more humor and fantasy. Until then, there wasn't another animated show blending all these elements the way that it did. Enjoyed by viewers old and young, always theorizing, aiming 2 steps ahead, and eagerly awaiting the next bombshell of revelations between Disney's ever-increasing, agonizing stretches of hiatus gaps. However, no other episode in its run had the everlasting emotional impact of this Season 2 episode. The one that made you lose trust in and completely rethink everything you thought you knew about a prominent character you grew attached to from the beginning, only to discover that he's secretly, well, not what he seems. Typical stuff for crime dramas such as Breaking Bad, rare for an animated show on the Disney Channel.
In this town, anything is possible.
The series premiered in June of 2012 and followed Pine's twins Mabel and Dipper's many supernatural adventures while staying at their great Uncle Stan's tourist trap known as the Mystery Shack, and adjusting to the strange town of Gravity Falls, Oregon, which is hiding a plethora of secrets waiting to be solved, all documented in a collection of 3 cryptic journals that give further insight and help them fight off and defeat dark, magical, mythical creatures and other anomalies that are all pretty creative and uniquely original. Like a humanoid monster made out of the Halloween candy most toss out, or the main antagonist Bill Cipher, a sadistic and extremely manipulative interdimensional dream demon whose primary goal is to merge his world with Earth to create an apocalyptic playground of chaos. But I digress. Being around the same age as the 2 lead characters, I absolutely loved this series as a kid. I bought the DVDs and the replica Journal No. 3 book, would print out articles highlighting clues or hidden details and codes, Nancy Drew style. After concluding with 40 episodes and 2 seasons, there was something special about its limited time frame, similar to summer break or just childhood in general. I mean, even the show's creator Alex Hirsch has described numerous times how he modeled the series to capture the summer he always wanted as a kid, with his twin sister, while staying at his great-aunt's cabin. Many of the characters and their traits were plucked directly from family or friends he knew, such as his grandpa Stan, who was very similar in real life to Grunkle Stan.
Studies show that keeping a ladder inside the house is more dangerous than a loaded gun. That's why I own 10 guns, in case some maniac tries to sneak in a ladder.
Establishing this realistic family dynamic was a crucial focal point for the first season, understanding the tight bond between Dipper and Mabel and how, regardless of moments where they do bump heads, at the end of the day, the siblings care deeply for each other and have each other's backs during the worst of situations, which tends to bring the 2 closer. Then, of course, there's Stanford, the abrasive, cynical con man, a mischievous grifter who, as you can imagine, can be rather selfish. It's clear he uses this stoic front to downplay the fact that he does have a soft side that comes through from time to time. Early on, Stan pretends to know little about the town and its supernatural presence, though as the season progressed, we began to get a greater sense that maybe he does know more than he's letting on and is up to something much bigger than viewers even initially realized. Starting at the end of the very first episode, we learn in a brief closing shot that Stan has this hidden room of sorts located behind the gift shop's vending machine, and it wouldn't be till the season finale that fans finally got to see that this doorway leads to a secret underground lab with a gateway portal into Bill Cipher's nightmare dimension that can be activated when following the combining instructions written in the 3 journals, all of which Stan has managed to covertly collect for this purpose. However, knowing how risky and flat-out dangerous this is, none of us knew just why he would jeopardize the fate of all humanity like this. What are his true intentions? What will this accomplish? Why is this so urgent and important to him? And who is the author who wrote all these journals anyway? A sea of questions we nearly didn't get the definitive answers to, as once the season wrapped production, Alex Hirsch considered leaving the show on an unresolved cliffhanger. Not that this was always planned, but rather because he was this nitpicky perfectionist working on his first real outing in developing a television series, meaning he was understandably drained and burnt out at this point. Some other people behind the scenes stepped down as well, so it took a lot of convincing from friends like Jon Stewart and Patrick McHale, who went on to make the amazing Over the Garden Wall miniseries for Cartoon Network, until Alex began rethinking his decision, ultimately agreeing to do one more season to complete the story that meant so much to him, but also a quickly growing loyal fan base. During this time, Gravity Falls would be moved over from the Disney Channel to instead airing new episodes on its sister location, Disney XD, a channel aimed more towards older kids with a lineup of cool, epic, action-adventure-oriented shows. Here, it could reach a better target audience than broadcasting alongside a new Good Luck Charlie or Dog with a Blog or whatever. This transition allowed the creators greater creative liberty with the darker and more dramatic direction the show was going in. This meant higher stakes, complex arcs, and a more serialized plot-driven narrative versus its first season, where episodes tended to be self-contained adventures centered on one creature or supernatural event that the characters got themselves caught up in that week, laying the building blocks of this weird and fascinating town. Season 2 was more concerned with piecing all these parts together and building up to a satisfying climax and payoff. There's a literal added layer to the mystery, as during the season premiere, Scarioki, the gang discovers that the author of the journals wrote additional notes in invisible ink, and it's a clever way of further fleshing out what we've seen. However, that's only scratching the surface. In just the first half of the season, we learned that government agents are catching on to Stan's doomsday portal. Then we had the grand return of Bill Cipher, explored a secret society that had been erasing the minds of residents who encountered the various strange happenings in their town, and witnessed a significant, emotionally touching character arc for someone who was introduced as a
walking one-dimensional bleach blonde Valley Girl stereotype!
And of course saw the search for and eventual revealing of the author in what is often deemed the best episode of the whole series, Not What He Seems. Because it achieved what was uncommon for a Disney animated series by testing the character's instincts and the audience's willingness to go somewhere without simplifying its themes or insulting our intelligence, to the extent that when they pitched the episode, Disney executives were a bit hesitant due to the plot heaviness and serious tonal shift.
When we first pitched it to Disney executives, they thought it was bad. Normally, when we're pitching our episodes to the executives, we can gauge how good they are by how much people laugh. And people didn't really laugh that one because it's really tense. So we thought maybe we screwed up. But when the animation came back and we watched it, we're like, oh, it's good that it's tense. Like, it worked.
After much hype and anticipation, the episode premiered on March 9th, 2015. At the end of the previous episode, Northwest Mansion Mystery, we were made aware that there is an immediate doomsday threat on the horizon within only 21 hours and counting, leading us directly into the cold open of Not What He Seems, where we see 18 hours and counting, as Stanford tirelessly works on the machine powering the portal with the remaining amount of toxic waste needed for it to reach full activation. Since the end of Season 1 showed Grunkle Stan turning on the machine and seeing it all lit up.
You know, it was our board artist who had suggested, let's see this big portal and let's turn it on. And there was a version where Stan shows the portal, but it's off.
Yeah.
And then the board artist like, come on, it's got to be bigger. And they did a board where we saw it turn on and it was so cool.
Yeah.
We're like, what the heck? And then when we were working on this episode, I was like, why did we turn it on? What was I thinking?
Alex and the gang wondered if they should jump straight to the reveal by having the portal on and following the characters venturing inside it at the start of Season 2. Then they discussed the possibility of waiting closer to the end of the series before compromising on a halfway point, as fans were getting antsy.
All questions like that go to Old Man McGucket.
With the excuse being that it had yet to reach maximum power and required a larger fuel supply. The next day, Grunkle Stan plans to fill the kids in on everything, explaining why he hasn't been candid with them, but quickly aborts, and then suddenly a squad of law enforcement officers storm the area and arrest Stan, setting the episode into motion. The agents first accuse him of stealing 300 gallons of chemical waste from a government facility, claiming that they've been monitoring the unusual gravitational anomalies in the area, tracing back to the Mystery Shack. leading them to believe he's in the process of constructing a doomsday device. Now, in the past, we've witnessed several accounts of Stan casually and carelessly breaking the law. However, like Mabel puts it, this crime seems especially random and out of line, even for him, but they proceed to raid the shack anyway and send Stanford down to the police station for further interrogation, while Dipper and Mabel get taken to CPS. These federal agents contribute the most to the significant shift in the usual tone, because unlike the bumbling, gullible cops in Gravity Falls, these agents certainly take their mission and authority very seriously, that when sudden spurts of comedic relief do pop up, it's more often than not deriving from them being the straight men unable to properly grasp the town's quirky or illogical nature. The twins conclude that in order to gather the evidence, they need to access the security footage of the Mystery Shack's gift shop. So the two instigate a diversion, causing the government vehicle to swerve off the road and crash, allowing them to flee. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, Stan uses his one phone call to instruct his loyal handyman employee, Seuss, to guard the vending machine in the gift shop with his life until he can figure out a way to break free. Suddenly, he's alerted by his watch of an incoming gravitational anomaly, and realizing that they're only getting stronger, it gives him the idea that he can use this to his advantage. When the next wave hits, the officers become weightless, and he manages to swiftly escape. Back with the A-plot, Mabel and Dipper arrive at the shack and sneak into Stan's office to fetch the security tapes, only to find footage proving he is guilty of said crimes, which is incriminating on its own, but they uncover what is so much worse in the process. A box full of fake IDs, along with a newspaper clipping that has the caption "Unnamed Grifter at Large," as well as another news clipping with the headline "Stan Pine's Dead," detailing of slashed car brakes leading to a fiery crash, meaning that whoever they've been living with this whole time is secretly an imposter. And it's interesting to compare the twins' reactions to all of this. Dipper, driven by his skeptic, truth-seeker tendencies, is frustrated and feels betrayed, while for Mabel, this bombshell is a little more difficult to accept. As she tries to cope with these discoveries, she wants to believe there's some other reason for all of this, that her great-uncle isn't some evil mastermind with harmful intent. Her position in all of this is key to the episode, as you'll notice she's wearing a sweater with a key on it. This is because, as we'll see in the climax, her decision to trust her emotional instincts or follow Dipper's logic is put on center stage, determining the fate of events. As Mabel carries on searching for some form of explanation, she finds a slip of paper with a code that Dipper notes is unlike any other they've seen. However, Mabel recognizes it as the button arrangement on the shack's vending machine, which is still being guarded by Seuss. They try persuading him to move by clarifying that something is being kept hidden about Stan and they must access the machine to straighten everything out, but he refuses under strict orders. The twins then scuffle with him to get through and manage to enter the passcode in the process, revealing the secret entrance to the laboratory. The intensity keeps rising as we cut between Stan checking his watch, racing back to the Mystery Shack, and the three making their way lower and lower into the lab until approaching the portal with minutes to full activation. Here they also stumble across the two other journals that warn of an apocalyptic outcome that could destroy the world if the machine ever reaches maximum power, prompting the trio to quickly override the machine by activating the emergency power switch. Dipper reaches forward to press the button, however, right at that moment Stanford rushes in at the nick of time, out of breath, urging him not to. Dipper furiously responds saying he can no longer be trusted, and with merely a minute and counting, Stan continues begging for him to listen before all of a sudden another gravitational anomaly transpires, launching everyone into separate corners of the room. Mabel, getting caught on a cable, is the only one able to reach the shutoff lever, where she is forced to make the difficult decision, torn between her brother convincing her to shut it down, reminding her just how destructive the machine is, while Stan is crying out, pleading for her to believe him in what is the most vulnerable state we've seen him in, and Mabel is in in the most distressed and emotional state we've seen her in. This is all complemented by the art design and lighting being absolutely top tier in this scene. Ultimately, with seconds to spare, she lets go, floating into the air in what must be the most iconic shot in the whole series. The portal releases a powerful flash of light, engulfing the town. Then the gravitational anomaly finally breaks, causing gravity to fall. And in the last scene of the episode, we witness a shadowy figure in the shape of a person exit the now stabilized portal, who then picks up one of the journals, showing that he has 6 fingers, indicating that he is the author, before fully revealing himself to also be Stan's long-lost twin brother, Stanford. The name Stan Lee stole to hide his identity while trying to retrieve his brother.
Is this the part where one of us faints?
Oh, I am so on it, dude.
In the following episode, we receive all the exposition recounting their backstory, growing up together, them slowly drifting apart, and the incident leading to Ford's disappearance. Now, speculation around whether Stan has a twin, who additionally may or may not be the author, it had been surfacing for a while and was hinted at through little Easter eggs since the first season. Clues that some fans were beginning to piece together way before this episode was expected to air. When factoring in production and months of hiatus gaps, that became quite normal in season 2, as Disney knew this would be the last batch of 20 episodes, meaning it would not only ensure a longer airway for marketing and viewership, but it also allowed Alex to perfect every aspect of where the story was heading. One concern was whether the wait would be too long before the official reveal, and if it would be less impactful considering many had already solved it. Even if you guessed the outcome early on, it's the execution of the journey leading up to it that made the twist worth it, to make it feel earned. Getting immersed in the stakes, the repercussions, the weight, and the impact it has on the characters and their dynamic, that's what really stays with you above all else. The way the events unwind, keeping you on the edge of your seat. Taking a character like Stan from a selfish, greedy con artist and adding a new layer of depth by recontextualizing his character into a sympathetic, tragic hero, who's been doing all of this as a means of protecting his family. It's something you rarely see in a Disney animated series, and it has paved the way for many other animated shows to take on and explore challenging themes and complex characters with inner conflicts, proving that serialized storytelling can be successful within kids' programming. The animation and art design, while nothing groundbreaking, are gorgeous and more cinematic than typical television offers, only pushing that quality and budget as the series blossomed and more artists were signing on. There's so much that could be praised, and Gravity Falls has received its flowers over the last 13 years, deservedly so. Let me know in the comments, did you also grow up with this series, or what do you think of it? Favorite moments or memories? I love seeing your guys' feedback, and we're slowly building a community here, which is very exciting. Liking, subscribing, it's all very much appreciated and helps the channel continue to grow. Thanks for watching, as always. Ja, may your glas is serving in the jewel and the